burden. I'm trying to hold my pain. I'm trying to protect it again. And so I can't allow him to be responsible for helping me heal, because now, I did something in its timing that wasn't supposed to happen at that time. I was supposed to yield it to him and then let him carry it away. And then that way I wouldn't have to, deal with the pain of now, what am I supposed to do with this? So I say I don't know if it's necessarily 3 steps, but my primary step is just, God, how does this please you? How can you smile on me with this? And then I just roll with it from there.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, First Class family. Welcome back with another episode of the First Class Life Show with your beautiful host, Lindsey Vertner. That is me. And today we have a very beautiful guest by the name of Shannon Battle. And listen, I know that you can be doing anything in the world right now, but you have spent your time here with us, and we greatly appreciate that. You are out there maximizing your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And that's what we're here to help you do even further. So let's hop right into this discussion. Welcome, Shannon. How are you?
Hi, Lindsey. I love your enthusiasm. Thank you for having me on the First Class Life Class podcast. I am so excited to be here. I'm just really grateful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I need for you to tell the people, who is Shannon Battle? And I don't mean give us no foo-foo fluffy stuff, but let us know really, who is Shannon, girlfriend? Give us the good tea, okay?
You know what? It's funny that you say that, and I like the way that you offer me to introduce myself, because people think that the person that you see standing in front of you is the person that came out the womb. And it reminded me, I just did an interview with a panel for us to get a contract, and I was invited on. And they had never heard me speak before, but they wanted to use me as a part of their team. And so when I went to rehearse what I was getting ready to say, instead of coming out saying, well, I'm Shannon Battle and I do X, Y, Z and everything, I said, because I was presenting to a college, I said 1993, 1997, 2001. I said, it's how it all began when I started the journey standing before you as Shannon Battle, the ICAN lady, licensed general contractor, graduate twice of Fayetteville State University. I said, those were really humble beginnings, and I'm very grateful and honored to be before you today. So if we talk about Shannon in that capacity, Shannon has evolved in so many different ways, from even hearing the story about my mom telling me that God hid me in her womb for 5.5 months. And by the time her family found out that she was pregnant with me and they tried to force her to get an abortion, the doctors wouldn't touch her because she was too far along. So even at that, where my life was, in jeopardy, there was still, a plan and a purpose. And then when I look at, even from there, growing up, with two parents, but my dad adopted me. He chose me when my other dad wouldn't step up. Again, God had a plan for me, because he was making sure that I had what I needed to become the woman I am today. And then when I look at that, and then I start looking at, how I developed through high school and how I made it and adjusted with 2 parents who were addicted to crack cocaine, I knew that God had a purpose for me. And so as I'm looking back over my life and everything that I've been through, there is no reason why, I don't know that God has a plan for me. And I look at those situations, and not everyone has the same, but I look at how I was able to transgress and how to be resilient, how to navigate through those situations, and not really knowing who I was, where I would go in life, where people had dreams of having, businesses and things like that. I was just trying to make it out of high school. And I knew I wanted to do something great. I wanted to make an impact. And so I had a lot of different experiences that just allowed me to land where I am today. I've been able to help people. And in all that I do, regardless of if you see me, standing and I'm being introduced as Shannon ICAN Lady Battle, I am who I am and I can because I'm able to do it for other people. And that's what makes me stand tall. So when you see, the height, of Shannon, trust, there's a community up under her that's helping her to, stand up where people can see her because I have a lot of support.
Listen, you already dropped a lot, because oftentimes whenever we are viewing leaders, we think, they come from this prim and proper home and have, all of the good stuff, and now they're this great leader. But we don't recognize how many leaders had to overcome so many different obstacles. And one thing that you said that you just kind of slid over, that you had 2 parents addicted to crack cocaine. Yes?
Yes.
Girl. Now, we want a little more details on that.
Yeah. And, okay, so initially growing up, it's humiliating. As a kid, that is so embarrassing. And I remember the hardest times were not knowing when, or if my mother was going to come back home. So I had to allow myself to go into protective and survivor mode. My great grandmother, I'm very thankful for her because she stepped in when my mother wasn't capable at that time, because she was called, to that addiction, and it kept calling her and wouldn't let her go. And when I look at, what I was going through and the choices I was making, I was doing all of that because I was hurt and I didn't have anybody to go to. Who do you go to when you're young like that to talk about, my mom's on drugs and my dad's on drugs, and, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna get through class. I don't know how I'm gonna graduate. I didn't have money to, have my fees paid for school. And so what I did was I made sure that I stood above the shame, and I did things that I was bad enough to do, that I could control, and that helped to numb and ease that pain. And when I talk about it now, I'm definitely talking about it in a position of deliverance. I'm definitely talking about it in a place of hope for other people who still have unresolved hurt with family members that happened to them, and they're adults now and still don't talk to the family member. I'm standing here today, having that conversation, and, as a sign that, there is, be encouraged, because God, has the final say so. I thought that my life was ruined. I thought that I would never have a whole relationship with my mother. There were so many things that I thought that countered what my heart wanted me to believe. So yeah, when I was growing up with that, it was really tough. I had to be tough skinned. I had to be someone I wasn't. So when I meet people now that I may have went to school with, and if I was ugly to them, I apologize, because I just wasn't in a good space at that time. And I didn't have an outlet. I didn't have someone that really, walked with me through that whole process. I had people who loved me while I went through that, but no one knew how to deal with that. And especially in the Black community, because it's so prominent, we're just taught, just keep focusing on you, keep your family business, quiet. There was no therapy offered to me back then. And so I just did what I knew how to do. And it also opened up some things that I've done that I will probably take to my grave, but some other things that I am, willing to share and be transparent to be able to help other people grow through as well.
Hey, I know it can be exhausting blazing the trail and creating a legacy. And you're at the point in your life where you desire peace and rest. You want to enjoy both the physical freedom and financial freedom to live life on your terms. You understand the importance of prioritizing your self-care. And you know that you're worthy of transformational experiences, surrounded by other high-achieving, goal-oriented women just like you. That's why you deserve to be treated like VIP at the First Class Life Luxury Self-Care Retreat for Women. You deserve to show up and just be you. Away from the titles and roles that keep you busy from day to day. You deserve the luxury to fully unplug. It's time for you to embrace your first class life. Visit firstclassliferetreats.com to secure your VIP spot today, because you deserve it.
Yes. So I noticed that you mentioned resilient as you were speaking, and that takes a lot of resiliency. And what advice might you give to a leader out there that is listening who may have some unresolved issues with their parents? How can they begin that journey of healing?
Yeah, so it's not one thing, it's not one level of advice that I could give. What I do encourage people to do is talk about, with someone, and or be honest with yourself about what has happened, and let people know that, you once were an affected person growing up, because a lot of times the woman that you see in front of you, she still has this inner child that she protects. She still has this inner little girl that maybe, caged up and trying to get set free, trying to grow up, trying to heal in this situation. But we think that we still have to keep her safe, even as an adult. So I encourage, women who are who may have this issue, having family hurt, family trauma that you're still dealing with in leadership. And then the problem with that being unresolved, oftentimes we translate that fear to our children. And so now when you think that because you're making better choices, you think that you have better outcomes, you think that because you're very involved with your children and you have a very scripted life, that your past isn't impacting your present state. It does, because then, we go into superwoman mode oftentimes, and we want to protect our children at all costs. So we limit what they're able to do because we don't want them making the same choices that we made, and we're protecting them from what we've embodied in our mind as a dangerous world, a world that isn't safe with people who aren't safe. So it's very, it has so many different layers, and we have to begin to, examine how those are impacting us now, because we will grow up as we become older being that angry woman, being that hard to get along with woman, the judgmental woman. So when we look at women now, and women who have so much to offer, and we're like, why doesn't this woman open up? Why is she such, why is she just so cold and, just unwelcoming? Oftentimes that's not how she was. Is life, life did that to her, and she never properly healed from that. So I say, if you are that woman, begin to explore what's really in your heart. At this time, that whatever you went through, how bad it was, how hurtful it was, it didn't stop you. It didn't stop you from being who you are today. So if it didn't stop you then, why allow it to continue to interfere with, where your destiny is, and how to get there, and really how to enjoy the journey of your life going forward, even with that hurt.
Yes. So oftentimes we don't recognize how our childhood experiences impact our behaviors as adults. So what are some of the ways that for you personally, just dealing with all that you were dealing with as far as your parents, how did those situations start to show up in your behaviors? First, as a youth, what specifically happened? And then how did it translate into your adulthood?
Woo! So I'm not going to...
We get to the nitty gritty.
All right. So okay. Where are we going to put this at? All right. And I just make sure that, these are conversations I've already shared with my children, because I have 5 kids, and they range from 27 to 15. And so when they hear certain things, sometimes they'll be like, Mom, you never told us that. So I have to make because, kids, they try to play you. They try to make it seem as though like, well, you did it and you were fine. No, you ain't supposed to be doing that just because I did it. So, I have to. Right. So as, the trauma behind it, I didn't know trauma back then, and it wasn't taught. And I didn't know that wasn't normal. So I didn't know that it wasn't normal to do certain things. I just thought that was, what you did in reaction and response to the things that happened with you. So as a younger person, God, that's why I say, God always had a plan. I mean, he chose my parents, and they were the vehicle to get me here, but he always had a plan for me, because I did some things that I shouldn't have recovered from. I did some things that we wouldn't be having this talk today. We would be talking about something else if my choices had really had the consequences that they should have had, on me. When you look at other people, and I'm gonna go through that, but I just had a thought about that. That's why I don't judge women. I don't judge people like homeless people. I don't judge people that are walking down the street, lost their mind. I don't judge that, sister that, she doing what she got to do, on her pole, on her corner or whatever, because we were all one bad decision away from that being our life, that being, an outcome for us. And so I'm very careful on how I put my mouth on people now, because I understand it. I understand that there are things that happened to you as a child that were not your responsibility, was not your fault, and it all landed on you, and you were never taught what to do with it when it came, when it showed up. So when addiction showed up in my life, I'm like, okay, I wasn't taught what to do with that. I didn't know about Al-Anon groups and, going to, other types of treatment or whatever to be able to help me with this. I was alone. And so I treated myself as, you remember, if you may have saw this movie Precious, and she would get abused. And when she would get sexually abused, she would go into this fantasy world. She would disassociate, and she would go into being like star of her own stage where everybody celebrated her and everybody loved her. So I practiced a lot of imagery in my mind, because my current state, it was so hurtful. I knew that if I stayed in that state continuously throughout all my days, I wasn't going to make it, because I was already making bad decisions. I would start things and I wouldn't complete them. I would make sure that, I hung around people who accepted me. So I knew that if they had issues, then they couldn't judge me for mine. So my crowd that I selected was, not the type of kids you would want your children hanging around. And we all had some type of struggle or issue, but we could relate and we could support one another, which is why you asked a lot of people ask the question, why would, your child join a gang or something like that? I wasn't officially in a gang, but I was with a group of supportive peers. And I needed to be around people who looked like me, people who understood me, people who didn't judge me. But as a result of that, then I did things that they did that didn't complement who I was and what I believed. I look at, like the values that I had. I was very outspoken in school. I was the one that would challenge the teacher. So when kids wanted something said to a teacher, they would be like, Shannon. And then I would be the one to say something. I was always, because my core value was justice. I believed in dedication, loyalty, justice, and not doing people wrong. And so that never left me, but I still made those type of choices because of my pain. So I smoked weed all the time. I stayed high as a teenager. And I mean, because I had to cope. And so it's funny now as a therapist, when I'm talking to kids and, and I go through counseling with them, my first thing in our first session is like, okay, so what's the good thing about drugs? And they're like, are you asking me that? I'm like, yeah, let's talk about the good stuff. And when they go through, it's like, it relaxes me. It calms me. It makes me it makes me not think about, the problems I'm having at home. It makes me focus in school. It makes me less angry. And so for me, I was angry. I was so mad at the world. And I felt like I was always a ticking time bomb. So without the proper therapies, I went through a therapy that helped me. But then it was also in that where when the devil has, his schemes, because I know he was attacking my mama because he knew that I had this great purpose that I didn't know about in my life. And so he was trying to come at me at a young age. He was trying to come at me since birth. And then so when I'm out here doing, just smoking weed, drinking beer, I'm 15, 16 years old, mind you. And I'm doing that, but then I'm hanging out with my girlfriend who's like 7 years older than me. So I'm hanging around her crowd and we're sitting at a table and I had already smoked my weed. I was fine, just waiting on her and her friends in the kitchen. They called me in the kitchen and I sit at the table and they was like, here, try this. They were snorting powder. And I was like, I'm already high. And I've been drinking, I'm young, and I'm influenced by the people that I'm around. I'm with someone I trust, my friend. And my friend suggested that I try that with them. So I'm like, because I knew that it just wasn't, I just knew it wasn't right. She was like, girl, we do this all the time. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to do it. And she was really trying to convince me. And then her other friend was like, well, what you afraid of? I was like, I ain't afraid of nothing. Of course, I'm not going to show that I'm scared. And then I remember taking some of that cocaine in my fingernail and it got right up to my nose. And as soon as I was about to snort, I heard something yell at me so loud, said, Shannon. And it startled me and I did like that. And then it fell, the coke fell. And they were like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? You wasting our stuff? I said, who called my name? And they was like, nobody called your name, girl, go. And I was like, yeah, let me go. And I went back in the living room and I never attempted to even try to do that again. And so I know that was God. I really, when people say they ain't audibly heard God, I audibly heard God yell my name, whatever he used, during that time to stop that, because it would have just been a gateway. I was already smoking weed, but that definitely would have been a gateway for doing what had happened to my mother. And so there was an assignment that the enemy had to kill, steal, destroy. And he was trying to move very rapidly because life started happening for me at a very young age where I was making greater impact. So going through that in school, and then I did graduate early. I graduated when I was 16. And God just always gave me favor. I skipped school all the time, had sex with people. I didn't even like sex, but I knew for certain things, if I need fees paid for things, if I needed, certain things, well, I knew how to, what they say, shake your money maker, make that thing work for you. Well, I was doing that at a young age. And I'm like, okay, so when everybody be judging these young girls, I'm like, look, some of them are forced in situations and they don't know anything else. They don't have people to walk alongside them. So be careful. How you approach them. And if you can't approach them with love, if you can't approach them with solutions, if you can't approach them, with a willingness to walk with them, then, don't tell them what they already know is not right. We know it. I knew it wasn't right, but I was doing what I had to do. And so graduated high school, and then from high school, then God just really started dealing with me. I got pregnant as a teenager, got pregnant when I was 17, met my husband. He was in the military and he just loved and worshiped the ground I walked on. I'm like, I don't want no husband. And I got pregnant, but then I knew I didn't want to be no baby mama either. And so I was like, okay, And he was getting ready to leave. He was in the military, getting ready to go overseas. I said, oh my God, he gonna have some Korean woman he getting ready to marry, and I'm gonna be stuck. I'm gonna be a baby mama, and my friends were baby mamas. So I was like, I don't want to be no baby mama. So I knew, hey, well, you're gonna have to do something. And he wanted to marry me, and I turned 18, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna marry you. I ain't in love with you, but I'm committed. Remember, I said my core values, I'm justice, I'm loyalty, I'm dedicated. I'm going to be a do or die, and we're going to figure this out, because I'm not going to be no baby mama. That was my thing. And I wanted all my kids to have the same daddy growing up. So I was like, I had to figure out how to make this thing work. Then my mama hid my birth certificate, and we trying to get married. The day we getting married, he was leaving the next day going overseas. I'm like, oh my God. So we were able to find my birth certificate. Well, no, we had to go to another state, another city to get my birth certificate because I was adopted. And then so we got married, and lo and behold, we got 5 babies now.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first class life, because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Now, I gotta pause you for a minute, because there's so many different moments where, that catalyst could have came. Some people, that catalyst comes whenever they have their first child. Sometimes it's not even that, it's something else. So for you, that catalyst for change, what would you identify as that moment? Was it whenever you got pregnant that you're like, okay, I got to figure this out, I got to get together? Was it later after that? Like, what was that moment for you where you were like, this ain't it, and I got to change?
It was a moment, and I say, oh my God, I was talking about this not too long ago. My girlfriend, oh gosh, she had 3 kids by the age 17. That was my homie. I would do anything for her, and she would for me as well. And we were at her boyfriend's house one day, and I was in college. And she had told me, and I was flunking out of college because I was hanging with her and getting high every day and trying to be a college student and, hanging with my homegirl who dropped out of high school. And she was arguing on the phone with social services about her check. And I said, well, when the check coming? She was like, I don't know. They hadn't sent my check. I said, well, how much money are you supposed to be getting? She said, $236. I said, $236? I said, how often do you get that, every week? She said, no, once a month, and I need my money. I said, you got 3 kids. This your only income, and it's $236 a month. And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. That did not sit well with me. I don't know what it was about that moment, but I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I texted her. No, it wasn't even texting. I paged her, and she didn't answer because we didn't really have cell phones back then. And then I called her, and I left a message. I said, girl, I love you. You are my do or die. I will always love you. I said, but I can't roll with you no more. I can't have this a part of my life. I'm failing out of school. I'm not making good choices. I said, and I want to be successful. I don't want to, I don't want that lifestyle that, is trying to grab me. I said, I just can't do it. I said, but I'll keep in touch with you along the way. That was the last time we talked. And I maybe saw her like over 20 years later after that conversation. And it wasn't even a direct conversation, but that was a pivotal moment for me. It wasn't that I went to church and got this revelation because I had been in church. It wasn't because, okay, I got pregnant. It wasn't because, I almost died when I was at a place and I almost got shot at. It wasn't any of that. It was just a general day and a moment listening to someone else, and then just something didn't sit right with me. So when you are believing and you're hoping and you're trying to set the path for your children, be careful with being the person in control and trying to navigate, and you're omitting what God, really wants to do, because God is everywhere. We'll say, okay, well, I don't want my kid going to that school. I don't want them hanging around that person. As a result of me hanging around the very person that a lot of people just discourage me from hanging around, that's where I got my revelation. So for me, it was in those bad choices that I was able, not to completely drown or fall, or not be able to, or to get in a situation that, it would take a lifetime to get out of. It was in those moments where I got, revelation. I even think about I used to smoke cigarettes when I was in high school, and I saw this girl in the mall, and back then you could smoke in the mall, and I saw her shape and everything. I said, oh, she got a bad body, because it looked like my body. I was like, oh, and then the way she was standing with her boyfriend and everything, it was very fascinating to me. I was like, oh, I was impressed. And she turned around and she put the cigarette in her mouth and she blew. When she did that, she looked so ugly to me. Everything that had fascinated me then just became a picture of something that I did not want to look like. I did not want that to be me. And that was the day I stopped smoking cigarettes. So it's just always, it's just like hit or miss. So, we think that, okay, well, if we push this person in this direction because that's what worked for us, that wasn't, those were your breadcrumbs you were supposed to eat. You ate those breadcrumbs and now they're gone. Now I got to find my own, you know what I'm saying? So we just have to really trust that, God is navigating everything, the good and the bad.
Yes. Okay. So let's fast forward. What were your top 3 steps, if you will, that really helped you to heal? And we know that healing is an ongoing journey and growth and development is ongoing. It's lifelong things. But what would you say are those key factors that really helped you to heal and do right? Do right, and like right in quotations.
Yeah. And so I like how you said that, because healing really is a process. People think that, they're ready for healing when, they've gone through something. Sometimes you're just not ready. And we really have to give people the time and the grace to grow and develop through certain things. I counsel kids and they've gone through trauma. It's not immediately impacting them now, but if you're trying to get me to force things out of them that they're not mature enough, ready enough, and willing enough to deal with, then I could really be pushing them back. I could set them up for failure, trying to think that, I'm going to be the one that helps to, encourage and rapidly push this, healing, but it's not its time yet. Not for that. There are other things we can work on, but you just have to be developmentally ready. And a lot of times too, people just aren't emotionally mature enough to deal with a lot of things that have impacted them at certain stages of their life. So first of all, you just got to know that everything has a timing. And when it's time, then you'll know. So for me, I know that there were so many things that I've been through and so many things that I needed to recover from. So as they unfolded at whatever stage I was in my life, then I was able to look at it. And so my primary step in anything is, God, help me to be pleasing to you. When I hear the songs, God, let me smile on you, or God, smile back, smile back at me. Anything that talks about God smiling on you, being pleased with you, that's the core of my heart. So whenever I'm doing, if it's healing of my heart, if it's, restoration, of my thoughts and, transforming my thoughts, if it's starting another business, whatever it is, God, how does this make you smile? And when we're asking that question, then it pushes us to the larger part of what journey for life looks like when you're aligned with where God has positioned you in establishing his kingdom here on earth. And so when you're doing certain things, even in your family, in your workplace, at school, God, how is what I'm able to do right now, this moment, this day, able to make you smile? So I'm so focused on trying to get God to be pleased, trying to get God to smile, that I'm helping somebody else, I'm growing somebody else to do something, I'm becoming a part of something that's great, and then naturally it's like scales are just falling off. The thing that I held on to that I thought was my issue, my thorn for the rest of my life, no longer has the weight and the power that it did 10 years prior. So I know that as I allow myself to get into new situations, whether, they're, the places that, don't wound up, happening the way I anticipate, or, they exceed my expectation, is just being in that alignment of saying, okay, God, how do you be the authority in this? How do I just please you? How do I just make you happy in this? When that resonates and I'm connected that way, then that's how my healing happens. That's when, he opens to say, you know what, Shannon, now you're ready to deal with this. Things that I thought I was over, things that I thought never was an issue anymore. Or, things that I had, just buried. And it's like, okay, you're in a position now where you're going to allow me to take care of you. And so that's what happens, when we deal with our hurts oftentimes, and we talk about things and we share them with people who just didn't have the capacity to help us grow through that, or help us to, help me to carry that burden. And then I'm left with it after I've exposed it. And then, so now I'm like, then, now I'm just alone now with the burden sitting in front of me, with the pain sitting right here. And I don't know what else to do. And so I do whatever I can to put it back where it was. And now I've become excessive in doing things that I'm not supposed to do as a Christian woman, as a righteous woman, as a godly woman. I start allowing, myself to do those ungodly things, and then separate me from the body. And then now I'm not worried about and focused on, pleasing God, because now I'm trying to, I'm trying to just, burden. I'm trying to hold my pain. I'm trying to protect it again. And so I can't allow him to be responsible for helping me heal, because now, I did something in its timing that wasn't supposed to happen at that time. I was supposed to yield it to him and then let him carry it away. And then that way I wouldn't have to, deal with the pain of now, what am I supposed to do with this? So I say, I don't know if it's necessarily 3 steps, but my primary step is just, God, how does this please you? How can you smile on me with this? And then I just roll with it from there.
Nice. Now, we're going to take a pause and play a game. Are you up for a game?
Sure.
Let me get my timer here. Oh, we don't want 3 hours. So it's a really easy game. It's called First Class Favorites, okay? And all you have to do is fill in the blank. I'm going to say, what is your favorite ... And you fill in that ... all right? Very easy, very simple. However, you only have 10 seconds to answer, okay?
Okay.
So if you miss the buzzer, then you got to think of like a consequence for all of the listeners if you miss the buzzer, all right? So,
okay.
Let's see what to come up with. So we will start with something very easy. What is your favorite drink? And you can't say water. Go.
Red wine, Merlot, Robert Mondavi.
Red wine, Merlot. God, is there a specific brand that you like?
Robert Mondavi.
I am not a red wine drinker. I'm not really a wine drinker. Like, I drink it sometimes, but I like the sweet and fruity. And so usually my go-to is like a white or like a pink wine or something. But not really red. Red usually gives me a headache if I'm drinking it. I like the frozen fruity drink. Like, give me all the sugar and all the sweets. Okay, next one. What is your favorite song? And make sure you're specific about the title and author, the artist. Ready? Go.
I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. Diana Ross, baby.
Hey, listen, we're going to get our karaoke on in the First Class Life Studios. Okay, next one. See, you are killing these. What is your favorite book, title, and author? Go.
The Power of ICAN, Shannon Battle.
Okay. Got it. And then if outside of your own book, what book would you say?
And see, I won't know the author, no, because I'm bad with names, but it's called Invading Babylon, and it talks about how to conquer your different mountains that you're assigned to, whether it's in politics, education, how you're supposed to have a DNA that changes your industry in whatever you've been called to do. So yeah, it's Invading Babylon, but it's a great book.
Listen, that's what we got Google for. Who is the author of the book Invading Babylon? Oh, normally it says it out loud, but let's see. It is Lance Wallnau and Bill Johnson. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but Allnau. Yep, see? Google for the win. Okay. Next question. What is your favorite activity to do to relax? Go.
Binge watch TV. I just love to just
Ooh, what's your favorite show to watch?
Oh God, anything. So these shows now, Walking Dead. I could watch Walking Dead from season 1 all the way back to season 11. I love the because it's not like spirits, it's just gruesome, just like gruesome stuff, and so yeah, I could watch that all day, every day.
Got it. Like, I think I've seen a couple episodes, maybe in the first season or something. I don't remember what happened, but I got out of it, never got back into it. Not because I didn't like it, but just because I got busy and time went on, new shows came out, and forget about it and all that stuff. But gotcha. Okay, The Walking Dead. What is your favorite place to travel to specifically? Go.
I love going to Jamaica. So whether it's Ochos Rios, Montego Bay, I like the culture of people. There's no resort I've been to that I didn't love staying there. I love the smell of the air and everything. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Nice. Well, thank you for playing First Class Favorites. Now you are officially one of our esteemed co-authors of our First Class Favorite Things list, okay? And if you are new to the First Class family, then make sure you join our private Patreon community because you will have access to this uniquely curated list. We got our reading list, our music playlist, where we like to travel, and what we do for self-care, okay? And then there's also many other bonus resources like bonus video footage from our lovely, phenomenal guests, bonus resources and discounts, and all of that good stuff. So make sure you join our private Patreon community. Just click the link in the show notes, and you will be able to have access to that and so much more. Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/firstclasslife. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/firstclasslife. Meanwhile, let's hop back in this discussion. Thanks for playing. Okay, so I have to ask you the signature question of First Class Life, okay? If you are new to the show, First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle to be able to create a first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. If you want to know what that
stands for, then make sure that you do one of two things. One, you either go listen to the very first episode of the First Class Life Show where I break each of the factors down, or two, you go to firstclasslifeshop.com and just buy the book. First Class Life, 10 Key Factors to Create a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness, okay? Do both of them, matter of fact. But meanwhile, we're going to ask the beautiful Shannon, which key factor of First Class Life do you feel that you resonate with the most?
Lindsey, you made it hard because all of your factors are relevant to just life. You know, like if you want a first class life, you better have every one of those things. But the one that really resonates for me is self-discipline. Yeah, that one is the one. When I saw it, I was like, that's what I pride myself in. I'm a very disciplined woman. So yeah.
Nice. Any tips on increasing your self-discipline?
Yeah. Just be a woman of integrity. And that helps me to be disciplined. So like people will often ask me, how do I do so much? It's like, you have a husband, you have, 5 kids, and they're older now. So I would, get that a lot before when they were all in school. And then I had several businesses. I still have several businesses. I own a foster care mental health company, and I own a construction company, and I'm a general contractor with that. And we build properties. I'm a property investor, and we have investment properties. And then I'm partnered with my husband with his clothing line. And then me and my daughter, we're partnered together with a transportation trucking company. And so that's not for the faint in heart. And that's definitely not something for individuals who aren't disciplined. So you have to know how to properly portion your time. So people will say, you just have a well-balanced life. Well, my balance might be very off scale to the normal individual or the average individual. And I have a great responsibility because I know that God has called me for economic advancement, for other people to be able to have employable jobs and feed their family and live comfortably. So in doing that, to whom much is given, much is required. I understand that. So I have to do certain things. I look at people who do all the girls' trips and everything, and they have all these friends. I would love to have that. God, I'm an only child. I would love to have those type of relationships, but I have 2 friends. And when we are able to get together, we go, we have a good time, and that's what my life allows. So I would love to, have more friends, but I wouldn't be a good friend to you. So that would be a waste of time for both of us. And then so with then I look at too, my faith is important. So I have to make sure that I'm not so busy that I'm not feeding, my spirit. I'm not, taking that soul care. And so I have to make sure that that's properly taken care of. So whereas you get to spend an hour or so with God, I may only get to do it for 10, 15 minutes, but I make the most of that 10, 15 minutes, and I make sure it gets done because it's a part of what I need to do all the other things that I'm doing. So it's like, if you're self-disciplined, you just know how to put things in their right perspective. You know how to say no. So sometimes, people will be like, oh, she's just, she's difficult to get along with. If you come right up, if you just call me randomly, or if you came in my office and we didn't have it scheduled and I'm doing something, I'll say, go to my assistant and, she'll schedule you and we can talk then. Or I'll ask, just ask me, when would be a good time to talk? Don't think you can just intrude on my time. Because then as soon as I tell you no, you're going to feel some type of way. And you're going to think that I'm inconsiderate and it's going to hurt your feelings because you feel entitled or whatever, but you're not respectful of my time. So being self-disciplined, I'm very respectful of time because I never get that back. And I'm not going to, be in a situation just to make you comfortable that's making me uncomfortable. And it took a lot to get to that. And so when you are like that, it's lonely because you just don't have, but the people who who roll with me, who ride with me, they trust me. They trust that I'm going to take care of things, that I'm going to fix things, that they're not going to have to worry. So if you, on one of my staff, my foster parents, whatever, they know they're going to get their checks. They know that things are going to be in order. They know that the company is going to, do what is, supposed to do so that they can grow in what they're supposed to do, because I'm a self-disciplined person. So that's why that stands out.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And it is important because we don't get time back, right? So how do you impact the leader? How do you impact the leader? Yes, that. How do you impact the world as a leader today?
I look at it as, like how we're all members of one body. So I'm not looking at the world as unreachable. I'm not looking at it as, okay, well, France, and, even though I see things like that and I envision things like that, and it's great when, if I do a group or something like that and I have people from Ireland or something in the group, that's great. But when I impact world, it's the world in that God has placed me in. So my world is my neighborhood. It's where my office location is. It's where my church is. It's, places I'm invited to go, like even on your platform right now, this is a part of my world. So what I say needs to be seasoned to be able to impact the people in Lindsey's world that she invited me into. So when I do think of, what I'm doing to impact the world is, again, going back to God, asking, how do I make you smile in this? How does this give you glory? Where do you make room in this? And so I think if we begin to look at, the bigger part of what, impacting the world looks like, we'll be able to do a lot more. People, are very indecisive. They lack the confidence, some of those skills that you have when they're not able to be intentional because they're so busy looking at, making a great impact when there's an impact that they can make just as great at the level that they're on. If one can put 1,000 to flight, that means that just in you talking to one person, that person is going to impact thousands. And so if they're impacting thousands and they remember you in that, then now you already have a platform that's thrusting you into talking with thousands, impacting thousands because you did the one. So I would say, when I'm impacting the world, my world is whoever is there for that day because they're a part of that.
Nice. Do you have any products or services that you like to offer?
Yes. So there are a lot of different things that I do, and I'm always helping people. I like to see women grow, especially women with children, mothers, because it's tough. It's tough raising children, even if you have a supportive husband. And my husband is great at, helping, to keep the household in order. But for me as a woman, there are certain things that were just very important to me. So I have focus groups that I've started, and people, if you want to just join a group or a community, I'm there. I also have a free group called Jesus Loves Therapy on Facebook. So if you're a Christian struggling with, things, mental health things, and you don't know who to go to with that, for that, and it's hard in your church, to go, or if you're a leader or, depending on what your position or your role is, to say that, I'm struggling with depression right now, I'm not getting sleep, or, I'm struggling to get out of bed, those type of things. I created a community where, we just able to just encourage one another and just give the right type of support to encourage people seeking help mentally. And then I also offer a course that's called Write Your First Book in 30 Days. And I put the spin on it, write your first best-selling book in 30 days, because I was able to do it and become number one in a couple categories. So now I can say I'm a number one best-selling author, and I offer that course on my website as well. So if you have a story, and not just, don't have to be, like mine was, to have an impact with others. You could have a recipe, have recipes that resonate. conversations in the kitchen. You could be an artist and, maybe you just want to show what your artwork means. Or you could be a person that loves to journal and you give people insight on how to journal. You could be a fiction writer because you like to tell stories. There's something in all of us. Or maybe, you want to tell your grandmother's story before she passes and you decide to do an interview so people can learn about, things that happened historically. But I don't believe that anyone should leave this earth without writing a book. So I just came up with a course that was easy for me to get it done, stop making excuses, and be intentional about it so it can be written. So all of that is available on www.shannonbattle.com.
Awesome. www.shannonbattle.com. Now that was your website. Any other ways that we can reach you on these internet streets so we can stay connected?
My home, which is my website. But girl, don't you be feeling like you have to look, no, this is crazy. This is insane. I have 2 phones, two. And then you got all these apps, right? And then, I had to turn off notifications, but then I got mad that I turned off the wrong notification because I missed an appointment. You're not supposed to turn your calendar notifications off. Then I got to watch that notifies me. I feel like I am just on the brink of insanity over here. So my home, www.shannonbattle.com, is the best way to reach me. Because you're going to call me, I'm not going to answer. You're going to text me, I'm going to forget. So if you go to the website, I'll remember you there because I'll be able to grab it.
All right, y'all heard it. Just shannonbattle.com is where you will find all the things. Okay, lovely, Shannon. What is a final piece of advice that you can share to help us grow as leaders as we wrap up?
Let it make sense for not only you, but the people around you. Just whatever you're doing, let it make sense for everyone. Let other people be able to enjoy and reap from the oil that runs from the choices that you're making, the decisions that you're making. And remember, I love Harriet Tubman and I love her approach. We all should take an Underground Railroad approach. And the thing I like about it is it's not that she, got people to their safe haven, delivered them from places that, were struggle from them and brought them into freedom. She did not settle in her own ability to just stay and be free until she made sure that the others behind her were free. So she took on that same mantle that, Joshua did when they were crossing over into the promised land. So, we really should just take hold of just biblical principles when we're approaching life. And if we do it that way, trust you're not going to fail. You're going to be successful in all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Give it up for today's guest, Shannon Battle. And thank you, First Class family, for tuning in yet again. Make sure you are here each and every week as we drop new episodes of the First Class Life Show. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share out the insights that you are getting, because this is for you, you high achieving leader, you, to help you maximize your impact while creating your life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it. Until next time, bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.